My name is Steve Weber. I am the chairman of the music department, and we are very thrilled that you are here to honor our very special friend Helen Gerald. Helen was a member of our staff through the Suzuki program. She was one of the founders. You're going to hear a lot about that. But more than that, for me, she was a dear friend. And I saw the direct result of how she influenced so many wonderful students that went on to have careers, and saw how she had an influence and impacted their lives. We are so excited to have the opportunity to honor her with this memorial library of her materials. I would like to thank KCV, who is live streaming this event today. Thank you to Ellen Robertson for that, and also for Sean Wagner for helping to set that up, and the good friends at KCV. And if you're out in the hallway, you can even go over to classes across the hallway to view this on the live stream. So we're very, very happy to be able to do that. I'm going to introduce next Camille Neese, who is the Suzuki coordinator, and I'm so pleased to have her as part of our faculty. Will you please welcome Camille Neese?
All right. We're normally acoustical people, so this technology is a fun thing for us. I do want to thank each of you for being here with us today. First, I really have to thank Dr. Weber and his predecessors, Dr. Jim Rauscher, who is back here, and Dale Roller, right here. You disappeared. For continuing to nurture our Suzuki program as a part of the Amarillo College Music Department over all of these years. Also, Tiffany McDaniel, who is in the back, has really been instrumental in making all of these plans work for us for today, as well as for just helping us continue on our mission. We've got so many people here to thank and to celebrate being with us, and we're just delighted to have this opportunity to celebrate the memory of Helen Gerald. You know that she helped to start our Suzuki program here at Amarillo College with Suzanne Grooms way back in 1977. The goal of the Suzuki method is to create persons of beautiful mind and fine ability. And I have to say that I am still inspired every day by the legacy of these two wonderful musicians and teachers who not only promoted this goal, but lived it. Helen Gerald continues to mean so much to so many of us here in the Amarillo community, as her service was certainly not limited to her teaching. And her legacy continues through her children, and we're so glad to have Barbara here with us today, and Bob and his wife here today, and hopefully John is on his way. Thank you very much, his wife, to be here with us for this event. Also, her grandchildren, Ginger Smith, is with us here today too, and her son, so her great-grandchild Tate Smith, is going to actually be playing cello for us here in a little bit also. So through all of her family members and her students, her legacy certainly continues. Some of you may know that Ginger actually still teaches with us in the Suzuki program to this day. She grew up a Suzuki student here at Amarillo College. And the second of her two Suzuki-raised children here in Amarillo, Tate, is actually graduating from our Suzuki program this year as a senior in high school. So we're very, very this is just a special time, I think, for us to be celebrating Helen also. Currently, our Amarillo College Suzuki program averages about 120 students participating in the program every year, and they age from 3 to 18. From our beginnings as a violin program, we have expanded offerings with cello, viola, and flute, and we're going to be able to add guitar starting in the fall of 2014. And here is John. Established with a 2010 Art Force grant and a generous donation of Mrs. Gerald's teaching materials and archives by her family, the Helen Gerald Memorial Suzuki Library includes teaching magazines, books, recordings, and sheet music. Teaching materials and pedagogical references, some of which are no longer in print, are available for checkout by active Amarillo College Suzuki teachers and used to support their teaching efforts and strengthen parent support programs. The Amarillo College Suzuki program is an active teacher training center of the Suzuki Association of the Americas, and these holdings will enhance training of teachers from throughout the country and promote the historical significance of our program here at Amarillo College. We are honored by the generosity of Helen Gerald's family in helping us establish this tribute. She will continue to be a standard of quiet dignity and diligent service for us all. Now, I'm very honored to be able to present Dr. Paul Matney, who, my understanding, just ran the streets with the Gerald kids all these and we again are very honored to have him come and be able to talk with us today.
Very nice job. Well, thanks, Camille, so much. And it's so good to see so many friends here. You know, this is like a family reunion. Is what it is. When you look out here and see all these marvelous people that love Helen Gerald and love the Gerald family. And I want you to know I consider this a real personal privilege and joy to be able to participate in this, because I have known the Gerald family since I was a little bitty guy. In fact, Bob and I have pictures of being in kindergarten together. And so it's just, he's been a lifelong friend, and it's so good to see. Thank you for being here to celebrate the remarkable life and the legacy and the memory of Helen Gerald. Isn't that just a marvelous picture of Helen Gerald? And we are all flooded with memories, fond, fond memories of what Helen meant to Amarillo College, to Suzuki, to the Amarillo Symphony, every place in town that needed a violinist, all the churches at Christmas when you guys are very, very busy. And as Stephen and also Camille said, think of the hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of young people whose life was positively touched by Helen Gerald. It is overwhelming. It's truly overwhelming when you think about that. You know, when I see Helen's picture there, when I think of Helen, I flood back to Bob and I growing up together, that kindergarten picture I talked about. I think of maybe playing together, Bob, on the Wolfland Wolves. The Wolfland Wolves were a softball team that they were so bad, we were so bad, we made the Bad News Bears look like an all-star team. You played for the Wolfland Wolves, didn't you? I think of being proud Sandys, graduates, as I tell my kids, original Sandys, Polk Street Sandys, 1967 Sandys, Barber, you were too, which is really meaningful. I think of Bob as the stage manager for Mrs. Whitworth, there, you know. Okay. Now, I don't want you to talk to Bob at length too much because he's liable to tell you about some of our antics when we were in high school. The good news is, a number of years ago, we went to court, and there's been a court injunction that has sealed those stories until 100 years after both of our deaths. So, none of those. Cub Scouts together. I know Helen Gerald must have been a den mother. I remember Cub Scout meetings and with Bob in Cub Scouts. Helen was everyone's mom, all of the kids' mom. You know, they had a big family, 5 kids. She was always everyone's mom. And then I remember all of those pickup football games we played on Saturdays and Sundays at Stephen F. Austin Park. We still refer to one guy who is our friend, went to Tascosa, went to UT, now is retired down in Austin. He was the Johnny Manziel of our guys. We never did tackle the guy, John. We never did tackle him. So those are wonderful memories. You know, we've already remembered Suzanne Grooms. Camille did a very nice job of this program starting. It's hard to believe 37 years ago. Carol Nicholas had a great deal to do with this program. Of course, early on in 1979, Beverly DeLauberton joined us, and Camille. It's hard to believe for 13 years, Camille has been the director of Suzuki. And I just want you to know how proud Amarillo College is to have been, you know, in on the early formation and the wonderful partnership and the joy that you have brought to so many. And so I'm so proud of our music faculty and Dr. Weber, Dr. Rauscher, Camille, all of you for thinking of doing this to celebrate this remarkable legacy. Thank you very much. I also welcome John and Barbara and also Bob, and you know, Helen's biggest supporter was Dr. Tom, you know, and I can see him going to those symphony concerts and being at home with kids because she had symphony rehearsals and she had a teaching studio and all of that. And I think of Dr. Tom, the veterinarian, who is so proud. In fact, you know that Helen and big Dr. Tom and little Dr. Tom are in heaven today, and they've got big smiles on their faces. They really, really do. I had the Human Resources Department at Amarillo College just go back for fun, and we have continuous teaching records on Helen from 1977 through 2009 when she retired, and that's 32 years of teaching in this program. But did you know the first personnel record that we had on Helen, or we have in her file, is 1969. We have a record. She did something with the college as early as 1969. In fact, I think, Bob, wasn't it 63 years, consecutive years that she played in the symphony? Yes. And I think Helen told me one time, or maybe it was Dr. Tom who told me, that the last time Helen missed a symphony was when Bob was born. And I've always reminded him she's still mad about it. You know? What a great legacy, Bob. Just for those of you that might be interested, Helen had a BA from Washburn University in 1939. She had graduate work at the University of Iowa, University of Michigan. She taught in public schools in Iowa City from 1940 to 1944 and ran a private studio in Amarillo beginning in 1961. Helen was a violinist for the following symphony orchestras: the Tri-City Symphony in Davenport, Iowa, the University of Iowa Symphony, University of Michigan at Interlochen, Houston Symphony, San Diego Symphony, and of course, the very finest, the Amarillo Symphony. So thank you for being here. We're grateful that Helen shared all those many, many years with us. We couldn't be more proud as an Amarillo College family to have this remarkable Memorial Suzuki Library. So thank you, Helen. We're thinking about you. We love you. We miss you. Thanks for being here. I've got to pass off the microphone. This is almost like doing the weather.
Well, I'll make this quick. Thank you, Dr. Matney, for your remarks and for your consistent support of everything that we do. Now, I would like to introduce the third side to our own founding Suzuki Triangle here at Amarillo College, and our longstanding program director, Beverly DeLabreton. You ready? Okay, I think that'll do it. Just hold it.
Okay. Okay, Carol Nicholas wanted to be here today. She called me on the phone and wanted me to apologize to you for her not being here, but she's been ill and has had some health problems, and otherwise she would have been here and maybe would have spoken about Helen also. It is difficult for me to put into words all the wonderful things that I know about Helen Gerald, but I'll try to give you a glimpse of the Helen that I knew. Helen was my colleague and close friend. She was a beautiful, talented, and generous lady. I met Helen through my friend Suzanne Grooms. For 5 years prior to my move to Amarillo, I gave workshops each year to Helen's students and Suzanne's Suzuki violin students. In 1979, I moved to Amarillo to take the position of string instructor at Amarillo College. In addition to my college work, I was immediately submerged into the Suzuki program at AC that Suzanne and Helen had started. Helen took me under her wing, and she introduced me to the Amarillo musical community and to her family. Her family became my Amarillo family. I was often included in family celebrations and get-togethers over the years. My deep admiration for Helen's musical ability to perform and teach led me to look up to her as my musical mentor. Helen was married to Thomas Sumter Gerald, a well-known dentist in Amarillo. She and Tom reared and educated 5 children who all became professionals in their field of study. We are happy to have family members here with us today to celebrate in this wonderful dedication. Now, I probably don't need to tell you this, but Helen was a master at multitasking. There was no time wasted, not even 1 minute. Here's a brief list of some of the things that I know about Helen, and I could probably tell you many more, but I'll keep it to this short list. She kept the books for Tom's dental office. Maybe some of you did not know that. She taught many students in the AC Suzuki program who have gone on to the professional world of music. She traveled with me to many Suzuki workshops and conferences where she would meet with Barbara, and we would have wonderful, wonderful times together. She led the Twinkles at the last concert just prior to her death. What a very special time that was for us. She played 63 years with the Amarillo Symphony, where she filled positions as concert master, principal viola, and first violin section member. She never missed a rehearsal or performance of the Amarillo Symphony except for the birth and death of her daughter Nancy and the death of son Tom. She was also known as Miss Amarillo Symphony. I didn't know if you knew that or not. She shared rides with me for 30-plus years to symphony, opera, church jobs, many other gigs. She loved playing string quartets and told me she would rather play than eat. And I often tell the story that one night we tried. She would play all night, she said. We tried, and at 1 o'clock I had to give up. I tell her to go home. We were at my house. She loved God, she loved family, she loved friends, and she loved community. She attended church regularly and sang in the Stars Choir at her church. She made time for all the family gatherings, whether it was a birthday or someone coming to town. She never missed. She visited friends who were ill, and she also visited a lot of friends in retirement homes. She tried to attend every single dinner or meeting that she was invited to, such as the dental organization, AC and WT Foundation meetings and programs, church socials and programs, and social affairs to which she was invited. She was a member of PEO and performed in a skit with Carol Nicholas where the two of them wore knickers. Don't know if you knew that or not. She was a cancer survivor. She was a model in a style show for cancer survivors. She was a runner and a walker. She never missed participating in the Komen Race for the Cure. And when we would go on these trips, she'd say, right after we eat or something, she'd say, "You want to go take a walk with me?" I'd say, "No, thank you, Helen. I think I'll go to my room and rest for a little bit." And she'd say, "Okay, I'll be back in about 30 minutes." And she put on her shoes and she was gone. She made beautiful needlepoint and cross-stitch things, many which I'm sure that her family treasures today. She was a beautiful writer. Not sure many of you knew about that. I cherish the notes that she wrote to me, and I think Barbara told me about a journal that must just be priceless. She kept a journal every day, and beautiful writing in there. She was an avid crossword puzzle worker, and in between any symphony concert, if we had to wait around, she'd whip out the crossword puzzle and start to work, constantly busy. Well, I'd better stop at this point, but I have to add one more thing to the list. She always had a meal prepared for Tom, lunch and dinner, because Tom came home every day for lunch. And there was never a time that there was not a meal on the table for him. As you can see, Helen was an extraordinary person. I miss her every day. Okay.
All right. Well, next we would like to introduce a member of Helen's family who is here actually to kick off our workshop weekend with Suzuki with our event. I don't know, it's just a blessing to have Barber here to not only be here for our event today, but to help us out and celebrate all of the musical things that her mom means to us, and to be able to work with our students tonight and tomorrow in our workshop. So I'm going to introduce Barber.
As I was driving in today from Colorado, I was thinking about the early days, the days that most of you don't know anything about. My earliest memories of my mom, of course, is as a mother, but I can remember when we lived in our old house on Bowie Street, she would pull out her violin and she would play banjo and fiddle for me, you know, with that pizzicato going back and forth like the banjo, and wow, I just loved that piece. And I think that's when I decided I wanted to become a violinist. I must have been, you know, 3, 4 years old. And then she was always teaching lessons. Now this goes back many years before the Suzuki program. And I think there's only a few of us here who can remember her affiliation with Amarillo College going way back, probably into the 50s, because they moved here in, what, 46, I think. And I can remember performances that she did with Clyde Roller in a building that faces 24th Street. So the Rollers and I go back a long way. I can also remember playing a Bach cantata with her, I think in that same building over there. And I was in high school, and I got lost in that Bach, and oh my God, that was so scary because it was one on a part. So she went back a good many years before Suzanne Grooms moved here and told her about the Suzuki program. And Suzanne was my first exposure to the Suzuki method also. And I remember this was along in about the late 70s or early 80s. My mom said, "Do you want to go to a Suzuki Institute in Ottawa?" And I said, "What is the Suzuki Institute and where is Ottawa?" I thought she was talking about Canada, but of course it was in Kansas. So that started many years of our going to workshops and institutes and conferences together, and then with Beverly. And she never threw away anything, which is what the basis of this library is. She never threw away any of her notes, and I think her book one, Suzuki book one, signed by Suzuki himself, is here. And so it was easy to get this library started, and I have a whole car full of materials to add to it. I could hardly get my car to go up the hill. But some other early memories that I have of her, when we were kids, we lived out at the farm in the summers, and so she was out there. We had no phone, no air conditioning. She was out there with the 5 of us. We were all little, and the big boys were always getting into trouble out there. And the 3 younger of us were stuck around the house a little bit more. But she had a garden. You know, we were pretty much self-sufficient out there. And she was a horsewoman too, and she rode horses. And she wouldn't like it if she knew I was telling you this, but I can remember one time she fell off of a horse, and her whole backside was black and blue. So she did a little bit of everything. And then getting back to Amarillo College again, I can remember she and my sister Nancy and I playing a lot of performances here, going way, way back, and then continuing on through the years. So I just know that she would be so pleased that this library is here, and that her materials are going to be used by the new generations of teachers and parents and students. And my dad, oh my gosh, he would be so proud to see this. So thank you so much, Camille and Tiffany, and to the college for making all this possible. Thank you.
All right. Well, I do want to thank our music department faculty who are here today also, and who continue to help support all these 120 kids, you know, running through the building every week. And to thank each member of the Gerald family for being here today. It really has made this event very special, and for your generosity to make sure that this could happen. We do want to invite you to our Suzuki concert tomorrow night. We'd love to have you come back at 5:30 tomorrow evening in the Concert Hall Theater. We will feature all of our current students in a group performance. They'll be working with clinicians tonight and tomorrow, including Barbara, to get ready for this performance. It's free and open to the public, so we'd love for you to bring your friends and families and come and witness a little bit more of what this lasting legacy has meant for us here at Amarillo College. We'll have a reception and some music around the corner, so we've got some goodies. If you want to just go down the hall to the right to our new lounge and enjoy the really nicely renovated new music department building. So thank you again for being here today. We really, really appreciate it, and have a good afternoon.